Thing number four, Gary, we're moving to consumer confidence, and our headline is consumer confidence is a huge miss.
Yeah. Yeah. So, uh, what,
Finally.
yeah, exactly.
Finally.
I know. What these economists do is they talk to people and they ask them how they're feeling about the economy. And consumer confidence last month was 111, which, you don't need to pull long-term charts. I will tell you that's pretty good number, right? That's people being pretty confident. And Rob, one of the things we've talked about a lot on the five things is that consumer confidence has not only been high, consumer spending has been through the roof high. People have been spending huge amounts of money, and we've been shocked month after month at these really strong retail sales numbers. Now, what we saw last month, and we talked about it on the five things, was we saw a reversal. The manufacturing numbers got better, but the consumer spending numbers actually turned negative. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, somehow economists looked at that and they projected an expected consumer confidence number rising from the 111 we just told you about to 115 for the month, which is a pretty big increase. Instead, we got 107. Now, for people who don't follow this stuff on a regular basis, okay, 8 points off. Is that really a big deal? Yeah, it's a huge, huge miss. You don't see misses of this size. I haven't run the numbers on it myself. I was reading there were other people who did the statistical analysis. They said that's a 6 sigma miss. I assure you that's the kind of thing you should not expect to see in your lifetime. That is an enormous miss. And so, one, I'm not sure where these economists are getting the numbers, but you shouldn't miss by this month. But two, sorry, by this much, but also you'd have to start drawing the conclusion that the consumer is starting to face more difficulty than people thought. Again, you see all these articles in the newspaper every week. The economy's in great shape. Why are people in a bad mood? Right. And the implication from the New York Times or CNN or other very pro-establishment, pro-government media outlets is that, the government is right and the consumer is wrong. The American people are wrong for not feeling like the economy is great. Well, maybe it's not great for them. Maybe it's great for the government because they're spending a lot and manufacturing good GDP numbers. But maybe, people aren't doing so well in their homes. And when they sit down at their dinner table to go through their monthly expenses, their bills, maybe things aren't so good. And this is what you'd expect to see on this. And, my suggestion to the legacy media is maybe start to get to know people in the real economy instead of reporting the government, the government narrative, which is everything's terrific.
Elections coming up, obviously, at the end of this year. I mean, what is the White House's focus going to be? A long time from, March until November now, but I mean, what will their focus be over these next 6, 7 months?
Yeah. So, Rob, here's the thing. Americans spend, you know, 3.5 years out of every 4 year election cycle discussing and debating all kinds of issues,
Mhm.
economic issues, social issues, medical issues, immigration issues. And we're not, here at DKI, it's not our job to take a position on any of that. It's our job is to help you make more money, right? And then however you want to spend that money, whatever causes you want to support, that's your business. We're just here to help people. Um, but what we see people doing reliably, whether they're happy or unhappy with all of these issues that we talked about, people tend to vote on the economy. And so there were a lot of people this week looking at this consumer confidence number and saying this is a disaster for the White House, because you can really count on Americans reliably to blame the party or person in the White House for a bad economy and switch horses. And
Mhm.
so people are saying, oh my God, consumer confidence falling off a cliff, consumer spending starting to come down, inflation starting to go up. This is a disaster for the White House, and, they should start packing their bags. And if this were September or October, I would agree with them, right? Generally, bad economic news, bad consumer confidence, people not feeling good about their financial health. That's a great way to replace the party in the White House. With that said, we're a day into March, 2 days into March at this point. There's a lot of time between now and November. This week's news is not good for the White House, but there's a lot that's going to happen between now and the November elections. I don't know that I'd be drawing robust conclusions from this data was significant, but it's not robust yet. Let's see what happens to this trend over the next 4 or 5 months before we start projecting political conclusions and starting to bet on who's going to be in the White House a year from now.
Wrapping up this week, again, the everyone is wrong and should admit it issue. I think it might be one of my all-time favorite titles, so I think we may need to start keeping track of that for sure.